to Live at 5. Today's Pilates class has a bit of an emphasis on strengthening and mobilising the hips and glutes. So hopefully you'll feel that by the end of the class. So let's start with our feet wide, shoulder width apart, feet nice and parallel, and let's take some double shoulder rolls. So the focus here is just on the shoulder girdle, nothing else. Try and take the biggest range of movement that you can though with those shoulders. So you're really getting everything nicely warmed up, letting go of any tension that you might be holding around the neck. And then let's take some singles. So going backwards, and there needs to be a little bit of a rotation. Well, no, it doesn't need to be, you can do it just like that. But if you just do that without moving the shoulder girdle or the collarbone, it's like you're just doing a little twitch almost with your shoulder. I'd like you to rotate as you roll the shoulder back. But notice that you don't need your hips and your waist to join in. So you're just moving, rotating the collarbone around your spine. The head stays facing forwards as well, that's really important. Then let's place the hands on the shoulders and now circle the elbows in the biggest circle you can. I'm just going to turn sideways, and if I could see you, I'd ask you to turn sideways as well, because what I'm looking for is this shifting of the upper back, the rib cage spine, the thoracic spine, shifting it forwards and backwards whilst you take the biggest circle you can with your elbows, so that we just loosen up, get the blood flow to all the muscles around the ribs, shoulders, back of the head and neck, especially if you've been sitting, working all day at a desk, or maybe sitting and driving. That's another thing that we do. So let's now take a single elbow circle backwards, and notice there's a little bit more joining in with the hips, but not too much. My head is staying in exactly the same place. I can see on my monitor that I'm not swaying from side to side. I'm not turning my head. There's no change in my plumb line. That stays in the centre. And if I just drop my chin down, you can see my little top knot at the top, which is in the centre of my head. Good, so that's all backwards. Great. Then we're going into double arm circles. So I'm just going to turn sideways to show you. Palms facing each other forwards, and then you raise the arms up. When you get to the top, turn your palms out the other way. So turn the palms so you've rotated the arms a little bit, and try and go back as far as you can. But don't overdo it. Try not to poke your head forwards. We're still warming up, but be quite accurate with these hand and arm positions. And this, because we're doing both arms, is obviously very square onto the front. I'm going to go a bit more of an angle, slightly more flattering. So up to the top with the palms, turn them and circle the arm all the way back. Hopefully you'll feel a little bit as you get more warmed up. Feel that rib cage you're allowing it to shift forwards and backwards. And you'll notice a subtle shift in your weight forwards and backwards as well. All part of the plan. Great, I'm going to stay facing sideways, and again, if I could see you, I'd be asking you to do that. So we're now taking a single arm backwards, but we're taking basically backstroke swimming. So now notice, in order for this to be comfortable, and this is actually what I want you to do anyway, is to pull the hip back. So as the arm goes up and past behind your body, the shoulder goes back, the hip goes back, the ankles rotate. And as that arm is lowering, the other one is coming up. So that they're rotating at the same sort of pace. Not just doing one arm at a time like this. So keeping the head facing forwards. And again, coming back to where I can see myself in the monitor, forwards, I'm losing the hand behind my body because I've opened everything up. And the feet are rolling, outside edge, inside edge of one foot. Good, let's change our swimming style into a front crawl, like you're not allowed to breathe. So no breathing, your head stays forwards, stays in exactly the same position because your shoulders, your hips, to a lesser degree the ankles, are rotating around your spine. And again, if I could see you, this is where I notice the swimmers in the class, because you get that lovely hand cutting through the water as you come forwards. Brilliant. Okay, well done. Good. Let's take some reaches up. So feet wide again, shoulder width apart, reaching up. I just went to go with my dominant side then. Try and use your other hand first. So reaching up, looking up. Trying to touch the ceiling, just about 6 of these maximum, and then hold both arms up, pitch your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet so that you can tap both heels. Stay looking up, everything is lifted up, it's a little bit uncomfortable, and then lower your arms and lower your eye line, but keep that lovely length in the spine. Mainly the lifting of the rib cage off of the hips, and then let's just gently reach down the side seam of your leggings, your trousers, your shorts. I haven't actually got a side seam today, but you know what I mean. So that's that plumb line if we were looking at the good posture from the side. Straight down the side of your leg to the ankle bone, or to the ankle bone that sticks out at the side. And then as this gradually warms up, start to lift the other hand and trace the side seam of your top. Not too high to start with, just really comfortable. Keeping the ribcage lifted off of the hips, going up and over in the middle. And then gradually get the hand a little bit higher, but it's actually not the hand I'm thinking about, it's more the elbow. So I've tipped over to one side and now I can free that elbow up to get it up nice and high, without the shoulder getting in the way. If your shoulder's lifted, then that's going to cause a problem. So you don't need to carry on touching the side seam. Once it becomes uncomfortable, just let the arm dangle. About 4 more of these, thinking about lifting that elbow up, trying to keep the legs still. So try not to shift the weight from side to side as you do this. Good, and then hold over to one side. Now just straighten that arm up towards the ceiling. Hopefully it's a really straight line and your body's tilted over nicely and your side arm is reaching down your leg. Now reach this top arm up to the ceiling, top hand up to the ceiling, reach the other one down to the floor, just lengthen in opposite directions and then come upright. And one more, last one over to the other side. So reaching down the side, lift the elbow, extend the arm, hold that there a moment and then extend them both in opposite directions. And coming up, making sure you are breathing there. And you'll probably need to adjust your bra strap, ladies, if you're wearing a bra. Always plays havoc with the bra, that one, I really have no idea why. Okay, we're coming into some sumo squats. So I'm going to turn this completely sideways again. My feet are wide, I'm turning my toes out to the corners. Slightly, 5 minutes past. Sending the bottom back, keeping the knees above the ankles, placing the hands on the legs. My upper body is quite upright, so I haven't really, it's the same as if I was doing a mini hip hinge, same sort of angle. I just happen to be bending my knees more. This is really important. I want you to place your hands, fingertips facing in, on the middle of your thighs, and your elbows are sticking out to the side, and your shoulders are down, your back's in its absolute neutral, natural curves, and you should feel quite strong there, quite like I'm doing a little bounce because it feels comfortable. I feel like I'm supported. Watch that your knees aren't too far forward. Some of you will be able to have your knees this far forwards and still have your heels down. I can't because I've got rubbish Achilles tendons. But ideally I want whatever your length of your calves or your tendons are, send that bottom back so the knees are above the ankles and then you're here. Let's do a couple more of those. So just come down into it and coming up. Down and straight up. Really think about the weight being in your heels. Good, so from there I'm going to stay on this corner actually. We're going to hit that position where your chest is quite high. And then a way to keep your legs still, keep your hips at the same height, keep the angle of your legs still, unravel your lower back, I'll go sideways completely, unravel your lower back from, unravel your spine from your lower back, that's the one I was after. So you start from here, so start to pitch forwards in that lower back, and then the head relaxes down last, and then I'm using my hands on my legs a little bit, round out your lower back, really strongly scoop your tummy in, support the back all the way up to unravel up to the top. So what I'd like to see is three clear positions. So you've got your sumo squat with the chest quite high. Then you unravel starting from your lower back. The head finishes off the movement, that's the last position. And then tucking the pelvis under and rolling all the way up. Really drawing that belly button in tight as you come up. So send the butt back. Find your international ready position. Good. Maybe a little bounce from side to side. Unravel your spine. So your hands are supporting you. You haven't got to hang on to your back to force it into that position. And then round back up. 2 more. Sumo. Unravel and round back up. Last one. Send the butt back behind you, weight into the heels, unravel the spine, let your head hang, and then roll up through the spine. Great, okay, next exercise. So we're starting to mobilise and warm the hips up. So I'm going to actually have my hand on the wall. Have a little bit of support. If you can, start by standing on your weaker leg for one leg standing, if you know which one that is. So I've just got a little bit of support. I'm just lightly touching the wall, and this is the movement I want you to do. Just swinging the leg forwards and backwards. Start really quite low and just notice how this feels. So when I say low, my leg is low enough that I don't really have to, I'm not having to move in my pelvis. I could take the hand away there. But I'd rather you had a little bit of support so that you can focus on what's going on with the leg rather than worrying about your balance at the same time. So hips and shoulders square to your front, and now let's just get a little bit higher with that leg if you can. Doesn't have to be lock solid, but try and keep it fairly straight. Try and go back the same height as you're coming forwards, if that makes sense. So it'd be quite easy to kick the leg high and then watch that you don't bend the leg when you go back. So now just notice, how do you achieve that? You have to shift your weight forwards and backwards a little bit. Pelvis will be moving, that's absolutely fine. Are you feeling a stretch when you bring that straight leg forwards in your hamstrings? If not, it might be because you're collapsing your back. Try and stay really nice and upright. Go for it a little bit more. And then swap into the other side. So just a light touch on the wall, kitchen worktop, back of a chair, doesn't matter. So nice and low to start with. So I'm really imagining that I'm just taking a 45 degrees swing forwards and backwards. So my leg is fairly straight, not completely locked out. And then as that starts to get a little bit more comfortable, hip loosens up a little bit, I'm going to go a little bit higher. Now this used to be my tight side for my hamstrings, but now it's moved to the left side. So this feels a little bit more comfortable for me. I feel like I can get my leg up a bit higher at the front before I'm even getting a hamstring stretch. But generally, we're looking to just mobilise the hip joint. Swinging the wet leg forwards and backwards, and it will get you quite warm. And to that end, I'm just going to turn my heater off. Okay, so still thinking about mobilising the hips, standing on your weaker leg again. Imagine there are 2 ropes hanging from the ceiling, and you're going to hold on to one rope in each hand. And then we're taking a circle with the other knee. Keeping your hips and shoulders fairly square to the front, but allow your hips to move a little bit. My standing leg is straight but not locked out on that knee. Now we're having to look at the balance as well as mobilising this knee, circling it all the way around. If this is too much for you, and I don't know why, weirdly hanging onto these imaginary ropes helps, But if this is too much for you on your balance, you could use something at the side of the room, the side of your body as you just did. But I would rather, if it's too much on your balance and you can't keep the foot off the floor all the time, come into a teardrop. So you just tap the toe of the leg you're moving in between each one. So you're 99% on your standing leg, or you're 100% on the standing leg as soon as you lift the leg up. But that extra 1%, there's only 1% going through that toe. But try and take the knee across, up as high as you can, out to the side as far as you can. Come back to the toes together, the feet close together, otherwise again you're going to be wobbling all over the place. Let's try the other leg. So still hanging on to those imaginary ropes. So if you can, keep the leg off of the floor all the time. Crossing over that midline, lifting up as far as you can, opening out to the side. Come to your teardrop otherwise. Good, couple more. Don't know why I've got my thumbs up. Brilliant, circling outwards, because guess what? Back to the first leg. Now we're circling inwards with that knee. So out to the side, up to the top, across your midline, and again. This tends to be much more clunky, although for some reason today I'm absolutely fine. Maybe it's because I did this on Saturday, so maybe my hips are just getting a little bit more mobile, not sure. It's a little bit clunky, but nowhere near as bad as it can be sometimes. Woo. So the idea is to lift the rib cage off of the hips to stand nice and tall. Let's swap legs to the other side. And hopefully, like me, you're getting a little bit warm as well. All the way out. So same rules apply if you're taking the teardrop, feet together, out to side, up and across, and tap that toe. Just 1% of your body weight is going through that big toe when you land. Arms should be staying fairly still. Whew, okay, well done. Give your legs a bit of a shake there. Brilliant, okay. We're looking to stretch hamstrings and mobilise the spine in this next exercise. So feet nice and wide, insteps parallel. We're going to take a roll down first of all. So chin onto the chest. Let your arms hang. Let that upper back round forwards. As soon as you start to feel that stretch in the upper back, the lower back is enough, soften your knees. And then unravel your spine all the way down to the floor. Like your arms, your hair, it's like Rapunzel's hair, unravelling down to the floor. And then roll back up again for this first one at the same sort of pace. So just straightening your legs as you get to the top. Let's go again. Chin onto the chest, mobilising the spine. Soften the knees when you're sort of halfway. And then hang from your waist with those legs bent. Pitch the weight forwards onto the balls of your feet so that you can lift both heels up. And then straighten the legs and soften the knees. And straighten the legs, soften the knees. Try and keep the hands where they are. Even if you're not quite touching the floor, it's absolutely fine. The focus is straightening the legs in order to stretch the hamstrings. And then soft knees and roll up through the spine. So we combine the two things there. Now we're going to take just a pure wide leg hip hinge. So just put your little fingers, palms up, into that crease at the tops of your thighs. Focus on hinging from there, nothing else changes. Pitch forwards in your neutral spine, keeping the chin tucked in, the head in line. There, I think is my first rhyme of the class. Onto the balls of your feet a little bit until you find your personal hamstring stretch. So this is my second class of the day, so I'm already a little bit warmed up. Just Find, just check it out for yourself. We've just done a little bit of a hamstring stretch, but this is harder, this is stronger. It's a stronger hamstring stretch. And then coming up. But most importantly with this one is keep that upper back and shoulders absolutely in your correct position. So quite often I see this when the shoulders round forwards because you're trying to go too low and then that defeats the object. You need to be shoulders in line. So let's place the hands on the shoulders for this next one. So pitching forwards, in fact hands on the shoulders, elbows out to the side. So if I come back to face forwards again, so there's a beautiful straight line from elbow to elbow across your collarbone. Holding that there, pitch the weight forwards, see if you can tap both heels and then coming back up again. Great, let's take one of each. So we're taking a roll down. All the way down, soften the knees, unravel yourself to the floor and then straighten the legs and soften the knees and roll up back through the spine. Now pitch forwards, hands on the shoulders again, elbows out to the sides. Really feeling that work on the stretching the hamstrings, hold it there, breathe, coming straight back up, one more of each, rolling down, let the arms hang. Pelvis in neutral, soften the knees and straighten the legs. See if you can get the crown of your head a little bit lower towards the floor this time. So if your hamstrings are really tight, then take the feet slightly wider. Soft knees, roll up through the spine, nothing to do with the hamstrings. Now pitch forwards. Let's take the arms out to the side this time. Holding it there. And breathe. Make sure those shoulders are level, arms are parallel to the floor. Your spine is in its natural curves. And then relax all the way down. Good job. And then from there, we're going to take, so hands all the way down to the floor. Take your hands are underneath your shoulders. Take your feet wider. So go toes, heels, toes maybe. So my toes are facing the corners of my mat, my yoga mat. And then with the hands underneath the shoulders, I'm going to take my weight from side to side. Making sure 100% that the knee goes over the toes. Fully straightening the leg, fully bending the other one, and keeping the hips at the same height. So you don't come up and then bend, you stay at the same height. Try and keep the foot flat, so your ankle will be getting a bit of a stretch. So if you didn't have this turnout here, if you wanted to work this a little bit harder, take your hands away and lift your shoulders, so you haven't got that help of the weight going through your hands. What was I going to say here? Yes, if you didn't have your toes and your knees going out to the corner, you probably wouldn't go so far. Try it. With your feet really parallel, it's really difficult. It's very restrictive in your hip joint, which should be getting quite a good bit of compression here. Okay, let's turn all the way around to one side. So bend one knee, turn around to that side. So if you're on your yoga mat, you're going lengthways on the yoga mat. Make sure that front knee is above or behind your ankle. Put the opposite hand underneath your shoulder. Keep the back leg nice and straight. Drop your hips down. And then open up the spare arm, which means that you'll be turning away from the camera. Try and touch the ceiling and open out the whole of your shoulders and your chest at the same time. Good. And then drop that hand back down. Your feet are already in the perfect position to just turn, as in the perfect distance apart, and then turn to face the other side of your yoga mat. So turn everything, shoulders, hips, knees, toes, ankles. On the other side, exactly the same thing. The knee is directly above the ankle. Hand goes down to the floor, underneath your shoulder. Try and straighten out that back leg, but have the hips dropping down. It's a stretch on the front of your hip. Take the other arm up to the ceiling, look away from the camera, look up to the ceiling, drop your hips down. Get that beautiful line through your shoulders, through those fingers at the top. Wonderful. Coming back round to face forwards, bring your feet in closer, the same way we took them out.
heels then toes, then heels then toes, then heels then toes, to a parallel position, and then roll up through the spine, unravelling all the way to stand. Great, we're going to come down onto the floor. I'm going to move my monitors, move my camera, and we're going to start on the floor on all fours. See you in a moment. From your all fours position, think about, as we do this movement, I want to encourage you to move your rib cage spine as much as possible. So we're going to actually lift it up, letting the upper back round, which is what I normally say to my people in my classes, don't do that, but I want you to actively lift that upper back up and then let it drop all the way down to the floor. So you're pretty much going to the two opposite ends of your range of movement in that rib cage spine. Good, and then we're going to unweight one hand, one arm and the opposite leg, and as you lift the arm and the leg off of the floor, you're going to lift your back up. As you place them back down onto the floor, you're going to let your ribs drop all the way down, and then you're swapping sides. Opposite hand and knee, lifting up and drop down. Lift and drop down. Lift. So they lift at the same time and they drop down at the same time. I'm going to go completely sideways again. So lift and lower. I'm keeping my arms straight because, and I can keep my arms straight because what's lifting me up is that upper back rounding and lifting up towards the ceiling. And then I'm trying to, I've forgotten about it the last couple of times actually, trying to go as low with my ribs as I can once I've landed with the arm and the leg. The arm again stays straight. So I should have said, sorry, to start in the middle of your yoga mat if you're working on a yoga mat for this one. So let's take that same action, lifting opposite arm and leg, and now let's walk forwards. When you land, the rib cage drops down. When you lift up. When you drop down, you're there. Lifting and lowering. Be quite slow and smooth, not necessarily smooth, yeah, smooth with this, so try not to be too clunky. But equally, don't be too precise with it. It's not about being too precise. It's that one of those things, and sorry, I'm going backwards, in case you hadn't noticed. So going backwards to the back end of my yoga mat. So what I'm aiming for is to get right to the very ends of the position, the range of movement in my rib cage spine. And then once you get to the back end of your mat with your knees, come forwards again. Or just go as far as you can. So I'm going sort of length of my hand from my middle finger to my heel of my palm. That's how big my steps are, and then my knees are doing roughly the same. Perfect. Come back to all fours. So the next part of the exercise, again, is shifting the rib cage. In fact, I'm going to sit like this because this is quite a good viewpoint. My ribs are going to do this, and my hips are going to do that as well. Yeah. So going from side to side. So when I'm here, shoulders and hips are level. I'm shifting my ribs over to one side, taking my hips a little bit with me, shifting the ribs over to the other side, and then you're going to shift the ribs over to one side and lift the opposite arm and leg, the opposite side, arm and leg, but same side, and then go through the center, shift and lift, same side, arm and leg. So if you can see on my hips and my shoulders, they're pretty much staying level. It's not this, it's not a great big tip, and that's really difficult to balance. I want you to shift the rib cage over. It takes a little while to work out how far you can go. So stretch the ribs out to the side, and then you're just releasing that same side, arm and leg. And then when you've built up the momentum, when you've got the confidence to know that you can go over quite a way, and you end up shortening a little bit on the other side. That's fine. Start to walk. And this is really weird. In order to unweight your hand and your leg and then going backwards, you've got to shift quite a bit over. Don't be scared. So this is from Garuda, this work. And this is like you're a reptile. Shifting from side to side. Shifting from side to side. And your back, I've just noticed in the monitor, my back's gone a bit flat, a little bit rounded. Try and have your back more in its natural curves for this one. And then going forwards again. But actually, yeah, maybe it is going to be a little bit rounded. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well done. Good. Thinking of more Garuda stuff. Let's take Garuda push-ups. But in fact, it's not really a Garuda push-up. This is the Garuda, I've called it the Diamond Star. So we're going to go again from all fours. We're going to do 4 of these. Most of you have done this with me before, so let's go. So feet and knees are together. You're going to push your shins down into the floor. In fact, let me just show you one set first, just to get your mind tuned into what we're about to do. So you're going to push your shins down, you're going to round the back, you're going to tuck the pelvis under, really round the back, let the head hang a little bit. Only go halfway back, and then as you come forwards, your spine sort of unravels up and over. You tuck the elbows in, you don't have to go very low. It's not about the push-up, it's about the whole flowing movement. Then you take your feet to one side, and then you tuck your pelvis under, and you round back halfway, and it should be a really strong stretch down this side. And then you come over, you take your head, your shoulder, over this hand, and it will instantly release that back knee. You lift the back knee, you drive the hips forwards, you take the arm across your chest, you look up to the ceiling. If you want to, you can open out that top arm a little bit more. And then you reach it forwards, but try and keep your shoulders, and I'm pushing back with my upper back. I've gone quite rounded in my upper back. Reaching forwards, trying to touch the fingertips to the mat, hands go down, knees come back together, your spine sort of half unravels. You stay at that angle with your feet, and then you take one more stretch back and then come into the middle to go again. We're going to do 4 all together. Now, I'm not very good at doing the breathing because I'm just talking too much when I do this, but try and find your rhythm with your breathing. So, and it's nice to breathe out every time you go back into this one. Okay, so push the shins down, tuck the pelvis under really far, lift that upper back, exactly the same as you just did. Round the back, take the hips only halfway, unravel your spine into neutral, get those shoulders past your fingertips, tuck the elbows in, and then straighten the arms. Take your feet away from the camera first of all, tuck the pelvis under, stretching back. That will be a nice breath out. Come forwards, over that back hand, shoulder over the hand, all your weight over that hand. Look down at the hand, lift the knee, stretch that arm across your chest and up to the ceiling. Hold it there, lift the knee as high as you can, and then reach forwards. Let the upper back round. Try and touch the floor, keeping that shoulder there. Bring your knees together, hands are down, stay tucked under, stretching back, nice breath out, come into the centre, bring your feet into the middle, let's go straight away to the other side, tuck the pelvis under, round back, unravel your spine, we're taking a push-up, tuck your elbows into your ribs and straighten, take your feet to the other side, tuck the pelvis under, stretch back, strongly stretching out the other side. Bring all your weight, shoulder over that hand, look down at it, release the knee, open up the knee, and then stretch the arm. Try and touch the ceiling. Try and touch the ceiling behind you a little bit. Reach the arm forwards, push back with the upper back, fingertips to the mat, hands down, knees together, stay on that curve, keep the pelvis tucked under, to the back, feet in the middle, one more. I'm going to try and give you the breathing now, so push the shins down, tuck the pelvis under, breath out as you go back. Breath in as you come through. Breath out for the press up. Breath in as you straighten your arms. Take your feet across. Tuck under. Breath out to take the hips back. Breath in to come all the way through. Unravel your body up to the ceiling. Hold it there. Breath out. And breath in. Reach across. Knees together. Breath out to go back again. Breath in into the centre with those feet. And again, tuck the pelvis under. Breath out. Breath in. Unravel. Breath out for the push-up. Breath in. Straighten your arms. Take the feet to the other side. Breath out to go back. Breath in. Get all the way over that hand. Lift the knee. Lift the arm. Looking up. That was your breath out. Breath in. Reach the arm forwards. Resist. Keep the knee up nice and high. When the hand goes down, knees are together. Breath out to go back. And breath into the centre, going all the way back, coming down onto your elbows, and do some sea anemones with your wrists and your hands. Good job. Great. Okay, we are coming onto our backs for some bridge work. I think I'm going to put my mat this way for this section. I don't know why, just fancied that. Just making sure I'm in the camera. Okay, so sitting forwards. Just going to move that forwards a bit. Great. Sorry everyone, sitting forwards. Hands underneath the backs of the knees. And then rounding the back, scooping that tummy in all the way down to the floor. See if you can unravel that spine sequentially. So think about the shape of your back as you are lying on the floor in your base position. So draw the feet in, feet and knees hip width apart. Think about your neutral pelvis, pubic bone and hip bones on the same plane. Your lower back is in its natural curves. As much of your spine is in contact with the mat as should be, so that includes your lower ribs. Remember, they're just above your waist, lower ribs at the back. Check the ribs at the front aren't flaring, collarbone nice and open, shoulder blades flat if you can. Tuck the chin in, lengthen the back of the neck. Okay, then we're just going to push the soles of the feet into the floor and unweight your pelvis. So when you're in your relaxed base position, your hips, your pelvis weigh 10 Pilates pounds. And you're going to push the feet into the floor, and nothing is really going to change except your hips, your pelvis now weigh 2 Pilates pounds. And then relax again. So you might feel a tiny bit of activation, but I shouldn't see, if I could see, I shouldn't see any great big changes. I shouldn't see any switching on of the buttock muscles. I shouldn't see any tucking under of the pelvis at all. You're just pushing the feet down to unweight. So just do that a few times. And then we're going to push down through the feet to the soles of both feet. Push into the floor and now lift your hips up into a nice bridge. As soon as you lift your hips up, absolutely you're going to activate those big glute muscles in the back line of your body. This is all about strengthening the muscles of the hips, the buttocks, hamstrings. So you're lifting your hips up as high as you can, trying to send your knees away and forwards over your toes, holding it in this top position. Checking that the rib cage is drawing down, connected to your hips. Trying to open out here as much as possible at the front of your hips. Sorry, I shouldn't say here. And then as you lower, I want you to resist lowering. So stay switched on all the way down. When your hips get back down to the mat, you can relax if you need to. But there shouldn't be much, it's not very strenuous this. It's just a case of really firing up those glutes. So starting again, let's do 3 or 4 more, just straight bridges. Push down through the feet, unweight the hips, lift the hips up, switch those buttock muscles on, and then lower, you're just hinging at the hips, nothing else is happening. All the way down,
Be very aware of having all those muscles activated, trying to open out. So when you start to lower with resistance, it's like someone's trying to push you down, but you don't want your hips to go back down to the floor. Relax when you get down if you want to. Go back to what your hips weighing 10. Release into a 2 by pushing down through your feet and then up to the top. So our goal here, and it's relatively easy when you've got both feet flat and in parallel, is to have your hips absolutely level. This beautiful straight line, knees, hips, shoulders. And lowering back down. I went a bit fast then. So all the way up to the top, lowering with control. Great. Okay. Think about which of which side is your weaker side for one leg standing, as we did earlier. So for me, it's my right leg. So I'm going to lift my left leg into a knee fold. You might be the other side. So the foot that's staying on the floor, that side is going to do all the work now. But the other side needs to be in a perfect knee fold position. So basically a neutral position for the pelvis. So now you're pushing down through that foot, that one foot into the floor, unweighting that buttock. So I guess it only weighs 5 now. So unweight it to a 1 Pilates pound and then push down through the floor with that foot. Switch on your buttocks, but you're only focusing on this one side. Lift your head up, check that your hips are level. The side with the knee lifted, that hip will want to drop. Try not to let that happen. And then slowly back down, resisting all the way. This is strong. This is tough. Maybe just open out your collarbone a little bit. Use the upper arms, push the backs of your arms into the floor a little bit, just to help you. So about 5 of these, if you can. So this is my second class of the day, only my second class of the day, second time around of doing this, and already I'm a quivering mess because this is really quite strong. And this is my weaker side, I guess, so that's my excuse, so I'm going to stick with that today. But it actually helped me to just open up my collarbone, push your triceps, your upper arm into the mat a little bit. So you're looking for those, feeling for those hips staying level. All the work is on that one side. The other buttock is actually relaxed. It's not doing anything. Doesn't need to do anything. Lifting up and lowering. Whoo. And place your other foot down, but make sure that you're placing the foot down back into your parallel position, your hip width position. Very tempting to just bring that foot across to the centre line. That would be known as cheating. So this knee is above the hip, pushing down through the foot. So you weigh 5 Pilates pounds on that one side. Push down through the foot to unweight the other side to 1 Pilates pound. Then push down through the foot even more and switch on those buttocks. Lift all the way up. Check that the hips are level. And then lowering with control, working all the way through this. About 5 of these. Making sure that that knee that's in the air stays above your hip. Really trying to open up the front of the hip. Push down, use the floor. So you will be getting hamstrings much more involved than normal here. Keep the ribs reaching down towards your hips. Stay nice and solid in that centre. Great, and coming back down. This time place your feet slightly apart. So hip width apart isn't very wide, as you know. But just have them maybe an inch or so apart, nice and parallel. Same thing, push down through the feet, the whole foot, lift the hips up nice and high. And then all we're going to do from here is squeeze the knees together and open just to where you were. Don't go beyond that position. So squeeze the knees together, and again, I'm a quivering mess from doing this earlier. pushing down through the feet. Knees are going away towards the toes. This is tough work. So working those inside thigh muscles, pelvic floor a little bit. Whoo. Squeeze them together. If there's too much shaking, it's actually counterproductive. It's basically showing you that you're weak in that area. So I'm going to stop now. I'm going to open up my knees and again resist coming back down. Whew, well done. Hug those knees in a little bit. Let's just hug the knees in and roll around slightly. Great, okay. A couple of tough abdominal exercises now. So the first one is going to be scissors, advanced scissors, for which we need to do a hamstring stretch first. Or not necessarily a hamstring stretch, but just take one leg up towards the ceiling. I would normally lead with my right leg, but I'm going to take my left leg up towards the ceiling because it's my tighter leg at the moment, especially in my hamstrings. So ideally, find that 90-degree angle. That should be your bare minimum. Try and have a neutral pelvis as well. So beautiful straight leg, beautiful pointed foot, and then slide the other leg away along the floor. And lift your head and shoulders up. Take hold of the back of that leg. It might be behind your thigh, it might be behind the calf. And then with both feet flexed, actually, just this leg resting on the floor, ease that top leg in towards you a little bit. So you might not have anywhere to go, and I'm struggling as well at the moment with my hamstring injury. It's gradually getting there, but it takes such a long time especially when you have quite a big tear. So just gently easing that in. Lower back is pushed into the floor. So you might be here. You might be here with a straight leg. That's absolutely fine. Just do what you can. All I ask is that you keep the leg straight. As soon as you bend the knee, you're not really stretching the hamstrings effectively. So just try and keep the leg straight. Bend both legs back in again and try the other side. So straight up to the ceiling. So this is much more comfortable for me on this side. Notice which is your tighter side. So straight leg, relatively easy. Slide the other leg along the floor. Find out where your 90 degrees is. And I really mean 90 degrees. Quite often people have a bent leg and the leg is too far forwards. I want a straight leg, absolutely 90 degrees. I don't need you to come any further forwards than that. Now flex that foot, lift your head and shoulders up, take hold of the calf or the back of the leg or one hand on each and just ease it a little bit past 90 degrees. Breathing, stretching the hamstrings. Good, okay, we're keeping that leg in the air. We're going to point the other foot. The other leg is going to hover off of the floor. We're going to fix and stop at 90. And I actually block my leg with my hands here. We're going to switch 3 times and then flex the feet and go for that hamstring stretch. So 4 sets, here we go. So we're switching. 2, 3, take hold of the back of the leg, flex both feet, ease it in, nice breath out, and point, go back to 90 degrees. 3, 2, 1, flex and draw in, and point back to 90 degrees. Switch, 2, 3, flex and draw in, and last one, point the feet 90 degrees. 3, 2, 1, flex and draw in with that top leg, and bend the knees and relax and roll the head from side to side. So tough on the neck, that one, because we don't spend too much time these days doing any abdominal exercises where we're holding that neck up. We're holding the head up without any support. But it's a good thing to try and do. Just a little tip is always keep the head above your shoulders as much as possible. As soon as it comes back here, then it becomes really difficult. Okay, we're going to take another classic abdominal exercise, another one of my favourites, which is a crisscross. You're going to have your hands at the back of the head and your elbows forwards. And let's come up with that upper body. So remember now you've got this lovely support on with the hands and the arms hanging onto the back of your head, and your head is just resting. It's like it's in a baseball glove. So bending both knees in, lower back is pushed into the mat, twist and look towards the camera and or the screen, and keep your opposite knee to the top elbow in, stretch the other leg away along the floor. We're going to hold this for 8, we're going to switch and hold for 8, and then we're going to count down from 8, finishing off with 8 singles at the end. Here we go. Hold it. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch and hold. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nearly there. Switch. 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. 3, 2, 1. Switch. 3, 2, 1. Switch. 2, 1. Switch. 2, 1. Switch. 1. I think. Switch. 1. Here we go. Last set. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, and hug those knees in and roll the head from side to side. That was really tough. I wanted to give you some cues, some technique tips, but I couldn't do the counting and the breathing and do it proficiently and give you the tips as well, so sorry about that. Whew, hopefully that was okay. But a little bit of work, hopefully, and again you might feel that, which would be quite nice. Great, we are going into side lying. So I'm going to straighten up my mat. Side lying with both legs bent. So if you can, lining yourself up with the back of the mat. Legs are bent, the heels are in line with your hips, hips are stacked. Hips are stacked, shoulders are stacked. And we're going to start with just a rotation, a simple exercise. It's called clams. I've put my spare hand on my top hip. You can have it in your lower back maybe, you could have it on your butt. You're basically just testing that there's no movement of the pelvis with that leg. So keep it absolutely still. Try and squeeze your heels together if you can. So squeeze your heels together, so the movement is rotation of your thigh bone within your hip socket. And you should start to feel some work going on in your buttock muscles, in your glute med, sort of at the top here, hopefully. Good, then we're going to take a different movement, so there's no rotation now. You're going to keep the leg in the same shape, and you're going to lift up and lower, so it's just in a mirror image of the underneath leg. So the test for this is when you lower your leg to touch your underneath leg, your knee and your foot should land and touch at the same time. If you go clunk, there's been a bit of rotation. We don't want any rotation. We're now taking abduction. So we're taking the leg away from the central line of the body, your spine. On a sideways plane, if that makes any sense. So that underneath arm, palm is up. Keep the top shoulder down, lifting and lowering. Good job. And we're going to straighten that leg out now and bring the underneath foot forwards a little bit, so that it just gives you a bit more ballast with this underneath leg. Lift your head up and have a little look. Imagine you were standing on this leg. It's in your plumb line, it's in your straight line. And then you're going to take the leg behind that plumb line. It doesn't go very far. So you're getting quite a nice stretch across the front of your hip here. And then we're going to draw an upright figure of 8. It's quite a shallow figure of 8, behind your central line. I'm trying to touch the floor. I'm just about managing to brush the floor, which is the bottom of my figure of 8, where it's sort of standing on its end. And then I'm not lifting too high. The top of my figure of 8 is just above that top hip. And it's a very shallow one. It's very skinny, I should say. Because you can't really go very far without moving your pelvis. So again, place your hand, in fact I'm drawing very dodgy figure of 8s tonight. Place your hand on your hips, make sure your hips are staying still. Use that spare hand to check your waist. Is it lifted off of the mat? It should be. It shouldn't be changing, nothing should be changing with that leg. When you would quite like to stop, which for me is about now, I want you to change direction with your figure of 8 for about another 5. And if you change direction really quickly and easily, you're probably actually still going in the same direction. It's quite hard to work out that figure of 8 in the opposite direction. Woo, and enough. And I'm going to roll onto my back and stretch that out a little bit. So take the leg that you were circling and moving just now, just cross the ankle over your other knee. And then for me, that's already given me a little bit of a stretch. I'm going to let my legs just loll from side to side. Breathing, waiting until that cramping of the muscles eases off a little bit. If you want more of a stretch, lift your head and shoulders up, lift the leg up off the floor, one hand through the gap, the other hand goes round to interlace your hands behind the knee. Rest your head down again if you can, which I can only just do on this side, my tighter side. So, and then circling the foot that's in the air, circling at the ankle. It's got nothing to do with your hip stretch, just helps to take your mind off of it. And also we haven't done any feet today. Maybe some waves, some scrunches, and then reverse scrunches, some caterpillars in the air with that foot. And then just to finish off, hold on to that top leg if you can and circle the legs around, staying in that figure of 4 stretch. Breathe nice and deeply. Brilliant. Placing that foot down. Just take your legs towards the camera, roll over onto your side, sit yourself up. Hopefully, miraculously, you'll be in the Z sit, but there'll be more of that another time. And then come over to the other side. Hair's all gone horribly wrong now. So heels are in line with your butt, in line with your spine, in line with the back of the mat if you're on a yoga mat. Underneath arm, palm is up, shoulder down, hips are stacked. Squeeze those heels together. Make sure the top hip is staying really still. Waist is lifted, rib cage connected. Even though this is relatively easy, try and just keep that pelvis from moving. There shouldn't be any movement here. Good job. And then let's lift and lower that top leg in a mirror image. Notice for yourself, so my knee keeps touching just slightly before my foot. So I'm obviously rotating inwards slightly as I'm coming down, as I'm lowering the leg. Try and keep it absolutely level. And lift as high as you can without the rotation. So foot and knee stay at the same level. Great, let's straighten that leg. Lift your head up, have a little look. If you were standing, would it be in the correct position? In line with the side seam of your top and your leggings if you had one. Then take the leg behind. So it's like you're working in the shadow of your bottom. Then start to draw your skinny figure figure of 8, your upright figure of 8. So when that leg lowers to the floor, I'm getting quite a nice stretch on the front of my hip. Try not to let the leg come forwards, don't even let it be in line with your spine. There's another rhyme, I'm full of them tonight. Keep it back, but watch the hip doesn't move. Check your waist isn't moving. So you're isolating, using the muscles to move your leg as opposed to your hips joining in, any other body parts joining in. When you would quite like to stop, reverse the direction of your figure of 8. Hurts the brain sometimes more than the muscles, although this pretty much does hurt in the muscles quite a lot. Oh, we didn't take the leg forwards. Sorry about that, everyone. Well done if you remembered, or you did it instinctively because it's a bit more comfortable. Great, and then rolling onto your back, cross the ankle over the knee, and let the legs roll from side to side. If you're not feeling much of a stretch in this position, by all means lift the legs up straight away, but for me I just need to let that muscle activity just release a little bit. Good, lifting up the leg, lifting up your head, one hand through the gap, other hand to the outside of your leg, interlace your hands behind the head, pull those knees in, drop your head back down if you can. Ooh, and then we're circling the foot that's in the air, making lots of lovely movements with that. Twiddle the toes, try and do a bit of a Mexican wave, make foot fist scrunch while the toes are joining in, wanting to join in. And then taking hold of that top leg, circling around, holding on to both legs and breathing. Brilliant. Feet down, legs are bent, roll onto your side, come up into the Z sit. Perfect. Let's just finish off and get you up to standing just one time through this sequence, which I'm going to add on for next week. So lying down on your tummies. Hands underneath your shoulders, legs hip width apart, tip of the nose touching the floor. So your hands are underneath your shoulders, but your elbows are up like a grasshopper. And all I want you to do initially is pull your belly button away from the floor and then hold it there. So pull your belly button away from the floor towards, up and inwards towards your spine. You might see a little, actually you can, yeah, I'm exaggerating it a tiny bit. You'll see a little lift and lower in my lower back. So I'm really activating, pulling that belly button away. Not activating buttocks, they're not needed. Pelvic floor switching on a tiny bit. Good. And then keep that belly button drawn in, all the way in and upwards towards your spine. Now push down through your hands, and you're going to take a reverse press up. You're basically tightening up the whole of your torso. Push down through your hands, come up onto your knees in a straight line if you can, like a negative press up. Take your hips back towards your heels a little bit. Walk your knees forwards towards your hands and take them much wider now. Curl your toes under, lift your hips, and then you're into your downward dog. Push the chest back through the arms. Flatten out your upper back. Walk your feet in towards each other, keeping the shoulders still. So I'm just stretching through the calves and the Achilles. Walk the feet out again. And then if you can, walk your feet towards your hands with your knees bent. So my toes are just touching the heels of my palms. Now I'm going to let my head hang, and then I'm going to roll up through the spine, Strongly pulling the belly button in, pushing the pubic bone forwards, unravelling all the way to the top. Hairs all over the place. Well done. Thank you so much if you joined me for Live at 5. Maybe see you next week. Thank you.